In this project, we're going to build a 2D platformer game using Godot. So the first two lessons, we're just going to break it down on how to set up our project in Godot. And then we're going to look at downloading, unpacking and importing the assets that we need. And then creating 4 level stroke scenes. After that, we're going to create a tile map. And then we're going to use that tile map to create our platforms and then put a background in. So we're going to keep these first 2 lessons very, very simple. But we're just going to kind of build the foundation for everything that comes next. So, as always, let's create a folder. So you can call yours 2D Platformer Project. Make sure the folder is created before you start, okay? I've got some test work in here that I've done ahead of time. So once you've got your platformer set up, you can head on over to Godot. Now, in Godot then, we can create a new project. And let's call this one 2D Platformer. And now we need to create the folder, so let's browse and put it in a place. Now at school, as always, we do need to change the C drive to our N drive, so make sure you do. I'm at home, so it's not a problem, but when you're at school, just make sure you change that to your N drive before you move on. Now my ones are on the desktop, but yours will be in your documents folder, so you can go into your documents. I'm going to go into my desktop, and then I'm going to go to student, my folder here, so I've got this 2D platformer. From here, I'm just going to create a new folder because in order to create a Godot project, it does have to be empty. So create a new folder, and I'm just going to call it 2D Platformer. Okay, and then press OK. Then finally down here, we're just going to type it again, 2D Platformer. Once we've done that, we can press the Select Current Folder. Once again, make sure you're in the N drive. We'll get this little green tick, so that means we're ready to go. I've given it a name, so we'll press Create and Edit. So from here, let me just set this screen up real quick. So from here, we're going to set up Godot. Mine always comes in at a bit of a weird dimension, but it doesn't matter. It takes me 2 seconds to do it. So we're going to head on over to our 2D screen. Now, ordinarily, we would change this to the size that we want, but we're going to actually keep this screen size. The screen size actually works for our project, so we're just going to leave it at that. Now let's go back on over to the internet and I'll show you where all the assets are. So, we'll get rid of that one. So here's our project here, and we just need to open this because we're going to drop our assets straight into here in a second. So let's go to Google. Now, where I've got the assets that we're going to use is from this opengameart.org, and it's called a tile map, and it basically gives us everything we need. On opengameart.org, it's got so many of these things. If you click on the browse and you go to 2D art, and you can use the ones that I'm going to use to keep it simple, but if you really feel like going a bit further and using your own tile maps or using one of these other packs, by all means come into here and have a little look. There's absolutely hundreds of them. Most of them are free to use for non-commercial projects as well, which is great. So the one that I'm using then, if I just head back to it, is this one here. It's by Kenny, and it's the Open Bundle. Now I've already downloaded it, so if you go to Google Classroom, and I've put it at the bottom here, so it's a zip package. So if you click on this zip package, and it will come up in another screen, and then you have to press this download button. Let it load first. It tells you what's in there. So all of our images and everything that we need for this project is already in here. It's already built for us. But we're going to click on this download button and just give it a couple of seconds. It won't take very long. Now it's coming down. Now this is a zipped file, so you do need to unpack it. So first thing I tend to do is just move it to the right place. I'm just going to move it to my normal folder. Before I put it inside of the platformer folder, I'm just going to move it to here so that I can unzip it and unpack it first. So once it's in, you get this little extract button here. So click on it and you get this extract button, and then you can say extract all, and then it goes to the same folder. So that's great. So we just extract all, and it'll pop up here in a second. And just give it a couple of seconds. There's quite a few images in this pack. So now we've extracted it. Let me just close that window that just opened. Now we've extracted it, we can delete the zip file, or you can keep it there if you want, but to make things a bit easier, I'm just going to delete it. And then I'm going to move this pack into the folder that we've just created for our project. So if I double click on it, it's all in here now. I'm just going to rename this because it's given that dodgy one at the end. I don't really want that. Okay, so we've got everything we need. Now if we head back on over to Godot, it will unpack everything ready for Godot. And you do really have to do that first, otherwise it's just an absolute pain. Okay, just give it a few more seconds. So once we've unpacked it, we're just going to check that everything's there, and then we're going to go ahead of time and just create our scenes, just so in the next lesson or in the next part of this lesson, we're ready to start creating our tile maps. Yeah, you might have to be patient with this at school. It will take a little bit of time because there's absolutely hundreds of images. You don't need to use them all, but at least if we've got them all, you have that opportunity. Okay, so we've got them in here. This is our file structure. So if I just click on this one here, and you'll notice that they're all there. And the one we're going to be interested in just a moment is this tiles folder. And it's got all of our tiles ready to go into our tile map, which is great. Now, it gets a bit cumbersome when you've got so many. So if we come up here and click on this res button, it will take us back to that root folder, which is exactly where we want to be. Now, the next thing we want to do is create all of our scenes that we need for this project. So the first thing is we've got our scene here. So we can click a 2D node. I'll click on this little plus button and go 2D node. And then we're going to change this to level 1. Okay, so we've got our level 1 already set up, which is great. Now let's just save it. So we're going to go File, Save Scene. Make sure it's level 1.tscn and press Save. And let's do that 3 more times because for this project we're going to need 3 levels. So click on the scene button and then we're going to say new scene, and then we're just going to add a node. We can just add the 2D node again, that's absolutely fine. And then we call this one level 2, and then we're going to save that one as well. So save scene. Great. Next one, so new scene, 2D node. We're just getting it ready for when we start our actual work in a moment. So let's call this level 3. And if we've got all of our levels already set up, it does make it ever so slightly easier. So let's just save that scene. Level 3. And you notice they're all coming in here, and I'll show you that bit in a second. So one more time. So new scene. And a 2D node. And level 4. Now, in order to get the marks for this project, you do need to have 4 levels. And that's why I'm just going ahead of time now and just saving out all of our 4 levels. Now, one thing that confused people in the last project is when they reopen Godot, all of these are completely empty. Now, in order to open them up so they're all tabbed across the top, what you do is you click on them there, and then you click on them there, and again, and it will open it, okay? Now, before we close this, let's just say save all. Now, another thing that caused a lot of confusion in the last project is if you don't save, you will lose your work. It will not save it for you, okay? And we had quite a few where people come back to the next lesson and they lost hours of worth of work. And it's a really good rule of thumb just to come in and press save all scenes, okay, straight away, and it saves all your scripts, it saves everything. Now, let's close Godot down. I just want to show you one more thing before we end this video out. So let's quit that one. And let's quit that one. Now let's come back on over to Godot. So everything's ready and we're happy in the actual folder. But if we go into Godot, another thing that was confusing people in the last one is when they come to reopen Godot and they tried to click on this, it didn't work, okay? So what you need to do is I tend to, if it's all grayed out, it's not going to work, it's not going to open. So what I tend to do is just remove everything in this list and then say scan, okay? When you scan it, remember you're going to have to change it to the N drive again, and then you can find your project. So yours should be in the documents. I always click this up arrow and then head on back to my desktop because that's where I'm keeping my folders, and then go this one there and that one there. Now, once I get to here, I've got this platformer here, and I just select it, and then I say select this folder, and then it repopulates it. And when I go onto it, I can just open it, and everything is good again. And it reopens up my project, and I will need to change it back to the 2D view. Let me just change this as well. get it back into a smaller screen. Change it back to the 2D view, and there we go, just make that a bit bigger. And then when I want to open up the levels, just double click on them and just open up as many levels as I want. And if you don't want them open anymore, you can just close them. It's nice and simple. Okay, I'm going to call it for this video, but I'm going to create another one now to do the tile maps and adding the tile maps to our levels.